Welcome everybody and thank you for gathering here today. My name is Kate Monkton and I am from the St Clares Steering Committee for 2017. I am here today to remind you of what an incredible role we have as teachers and educators. We aren't just teaching students for the day, we aren't teaching them to get to the end of the year, and every minute that we are teaching our students, we're teaching them for what is next. At St Clares, our vision is to work together as a team to ensure that the students we are teaching are learning in an environment that will equip them with the skills and knowledge that will serve them positively beyond these school walls. In order to enhance our learning spaces at the school, we need to be a part of the learning. Today, my presentation challenges you to rethink the formal and informal spaces in which learning is taking place. I will introduce you to 6 learning spaces and outline the benefits and challenges for teachers and students. I will then walk you through what I envision for St Clares and propose you with considerations for the new renovations of 2017. We all have a personal preference and a way that we like to do things. This may be a particular morning routine or the way that we fold our washing. This is no different when it comes to learning and the way that we learn. EDUCAUSE 2009 describes the personal learning space as the preferences, tools, resources, communities and environment which encompass an individual's way of directing their own learning and pursuing educational goals. Here are a few images of my own personal learning space. Now I would like you to close your eyes and reflect on your own learning space. Where do you learn best? What are you surrounded by? What kind of resources are you using? The personal learning space pushes the traditional learning system from course-centric to learner-centric, allowing the learner to select and organise their own resources and materials that support their learning goals. As the learning is onus of the learner, self-direction and self-reflection are essential. Pause now and refer to the screen for the benefits the personal learning space offers for teachers. I personally think that engaging in PLNs are a great benefit for teachers. Any individual can create, engage and interact through a PLN for personal or professional interests. I'll put a link on the next slide to my PLN and a list of other PLNs that are fantastic for educational professionals. On the right of the screen, also note the benefits and challenges the personal learning space has for students. Pause now and reflect on whether you agree or disagree with these benefits and challenges for the students. Now moving on to the e-space. Living in the 21st century, it's safe to assume that all of us here today recognise how the internet has revolutionised and influences the way that we teach in the classroom today. What I envision the online learning space to look like at St Clares is using ICT resources, using software and multimedia to research, gather and present information, students engaging in virtual learning spaces with their immediate classroom peers. This can be done through Edmodo or Twitter, and also students engaging in virtual spaces with people beyond their classroom. So this could be chat rooms, discussion boards or virtual incursions. On the screen now are 2 resources that you can take away from today to extend your knowledge on the e-space and how it is used within the classroom. The left-hand side of the screen shows the benefits and challenges that the e-space has for teachers. Personally, I think the greatest benefit is that we can now acquire knowledge from those sitting next to us today, but also from other educators halfway around the world. A significant benefit of students engaging in an online learning space is their opportunity to develop digital literacy skills. This is another one of the key terms that is essential to know. In my opinion, in today's society, being literate and digitally literate are possibly equally as important. To not be digitally literate limits individuals to participate in online environments appropriately. A challenge for students using the online learning space is cyber safety and cyber awareness. To include the online learning space in the new renovations of St Clares, we need to make sure that we have appropriate ICT resources. However, I do understand that providing computers and iPads and smartboards can exceed budgeting. A way that we can reduce this and make it to not be an implication is by developing school and classroom portals online. So this means that every classroom doesn't need to have 30 digital devices. However, each student and teacher can still have the opportunity to learn online through this portal, whether they are at home or in the classroom. I am also proposing the need for skill development sessions. So no matter how technology savvy the teacher or student may be, they will greatly benefit from attending workshops or professional development sessions that will extend their skills on how to use and teach within the e-learning space. The application of group, collaborative and cooperative learning is a popular alternative to traditional teaching instruction in the classroom today. Slavin states that students love to work in groups, feel more successful and like subjects when taught cooperatively. Hardin and Crosby also support that there is a growing trend towards student-led collaborative learning, whereby the teacher adopts a supportive role and becomes a learning resource. Group and cooperative learning spaces feature many similar elements. For example, a small group setting, the labour or task is divided, and then each individual part is assembled to complete the task. Collaborative learning, however, is the umbrella to these two learning spaces. So some points of difference is that it is strategically structured, all students provide a response and input, and the teacher becomes the facilitator of this learning. Teachers can also engage in these types of learning spaces and are often seen when team teaching. As for teaching students in this learning space, a benefit is that the teacher does not have to explicitly teach, but can rather use it as an opportunity to scan the classroom and provide directive support where needed. It is also a great time to informally assess how students are working socially and cognitively when in groups. A challenge, however, with this type of group learning space is that it often constrains an individual when being assessed. So the teacher can really only assess the group as a whole rather than each individual. If you refer to the list, you can see that there are numerous social and cognitive benefits that students gain from working in these learning spaces. Another benefit is that they can work in mixed ability groups, which enhances skill development, especially for students who are struggling or are below standard. Students are also exposed to a goal setting, action required, and achievement process. Some downsides to working in these learning spaces is that students naturally emerge into specific roles. So, for example, one student may become the leader, while other members may not be heard or their contributions could be rejected from the group. This is why teacher monitoring is essential. Additionally, students may not prefer to be working in a group and are more successful learners independently. In designing a space that promotes group, collaborative and cooperative learning, the physical space is quite important. In 2008, research undertaken by Bond University proposed the pod room, which facilitates this type of learning style. Wilson and Randall's approach focused on setting up several group pods consisting of circular tables equipped with appropriate resources. They also introduced a master pod, which is where the facilitator or educator can control aspects of areas in the room, such as what is being projected on the screens, lighting and sound. In support of this research, I propose that pod rooms will be a fitting addition to St. Clares as they are successful in facilitating teamwork, interaction and sociability among students. Granito and Clark communicates that the space and environmental conditions where teaching and learning takes place should be considered as yet another variable related to how well students perform. At the bottom of this slide, there is a link to a survey that I have specifically designed. Teachers can use this to survey their students and gather information about how the students see their classroom and the improvements that can be made. These next few slides outline the conditions of the physical space that need to be considered in a classroom and, when carried out effectively, produce desired learning outcomes of our students. As we did earlier, I would now like you to pause and familiarise yourself with the benefits and challenges that the classroom learning space provides for both teachers and students. The proposals that I am putting forward for the classroom learning space at St. Clares is to provide open plan learning spaces. This breaks through the barriers of the four walls and provides flexibility. I have provided a link which is an exemplar of a flexible learning space at Balwyn Primary School. Within this video, you can see how the classroom space functions and also the benefits for both the teachers and the students. According to Lorenza, learning beyond the classroom can be a unique and invaluable experience for students. Excursions and incursions allow students to learn beyond the walls of their classroom and allow for them to engage in a wider community of practice. Beyond the classroom is a learning space that encompasses both the personal and e-space that we have discussed previously. The benefits for teachers is that they are able to present knowledge to students in a variety of different ways, and incursions are also a rich and exciting way of doing so. I now just have a question for teachers. How many times have you gone on a school excursion and actually acquired new knowledge just like a student? Well, this speaks to a benefit of learning beyond the classroom, as it relies on other professionals to become the educators and therefore providing authentic learning experiences to students. Students will also benefit from excursions and incursions as they can become inspired by the change of environment and potentially be more attentive, creative, imaginative, and absorb knowledge efficiently. Take the time now to discuss with those around you your views on the benefits and challenges of going beyond the classroom learning space. Learning beyond the classroom at St. Clares will look like teachers taking advantage of learning opportunities when implementing curriculum. This means that if a topic arises that a teacher can outsource and go on an excursion or bring an incursion into the school for students to learn about, this would be happening. As a resource, I have included a link to a proposal checklist that teachers can use when pitching an idea to a principal or coordinator about learning beyond the classroom. The definition of the liminal space is a challenging concept as it encompasses all of the learning spaces previously discussed, although is completely conflicting in the sense that it's not actually a physical space or learning that is tangible. The term liminal refers to a transitional stage. Some other key words that are related to its definition are on the screen. It is an intriguing space whereby an individual is moving from one point of learning onto another. The simplest and easiest way to describe it is through an example. So my personal experience of this space is when I finished Year 12 and was transitioning into uni. This was a time where I was moving on from one significant phase to another, and I was completely perplexed by the unknown. What I have learned is if that we consider or reflect on a time where we were personally experiencing the liminal space, we'll be able to see the personal growth that we have attained from being in that space. The benefits of this space for an individual is related to growth and acquiring a growth mindset. As this space has personal boundaries, it therefore will be challenging for teachers to fully support students who may be experiencing the liminal space, and it is also for students to fully grasp the concept of this space and know its value at such a young age. This brings me to my point as to why it is important to capture the liminal space within this school setting. Even though it isn't a physical space in the school, at St. Clares I urge that teachers reveal and embrace this space to teach students that it is okay to feel like this and to learn like this and to grow from this. Thank you everybody for taking the time to listen, and I hope that I have introduced you to the practical and theoretical components of these learning spaces and how they can be used in St. Clares 2017 renovations.